And here we are in the bunker here in Byron Bay for the second episode of the Duane-o Podcast. I am indeed him, Duane-o. Here with none other than the big dog, Chad Ellis from Crisis Collapse. Yeah, from Crisis Collapse and new band, Faith in Lies. And both of those bands looking to do pretty big things. So if you're watching this on the YouTube page and you want to have the audio version of this, head over to anchor.fm/Duane-o. And we're on Spotify, we're on iTunes, all the platforms. So the easiest way to go about it, head over to anchor.fm/Duane-o and find the links there. If you are listening to this on audio and want to watch this on YouTube, there should be a link there on the Anchor FM page for the YouTube video. So none other than Chad here. What's going on, brother?
Hey, man. How are you? What is this Duane-o Podcast shenanigan about?
Mate,
Talk to me.
Look, mate. Ever since this whole fucking lockdown thing has happened, I hadn't had a chance to talk to you, so I just need an excuse to say hi. That's all I needed. Ever since your last gig that you played with at a trio up in Brisbane, man, like I think if I had known we were going to be locked away and not see each other for 3 or 4 months, I would have had taken that late night Macca's run with you after the gig instead of taking the train ride back home.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, mate, no, it's good to see you kicking the podcast off, and I'm stoked to be on board for episode number Duo?
Deuce,
yeah,
yes.
Deuce.
Yeah, so more or less, we tried to tee up this podcast the other night, a couple of nights ago, but then, you didn't really say, but I think you had Andrew Hogue Radio, you had Triple M Heavy, Loud and Heavy, I think is it called?
Hard and Heavy?
Hard and Heavy,
yeah. Hard
yep.
and Heavy.
I should know that. I've been listening to it. And the Racket on Triple J with the newbie Faith in Lies, which is pretty fucking impressive, dude. And
Thanks,
then,
man.
yeah, and then we tried to tee up last night, but as Big Dog knows, you got to be in bed by 7:30. So
that's it.
So tell
Miss
us.
Kim sent me to bed nice and early last night, so I apologise for that.
So tell us a little bit about Faith in Lies, bro. I see on the profile you're located in Newcastle. Was this like a remote location band? How did it all come about?
Yeah, pretty well, man. Like the base of the band are based further down south, Newey and Central Coast. Bunch of mates from a few other bands, Take My Soul and Lycanthrope, that we've played with a few times.
Yeah.
And Hamish, the other guitarist, like it's sort of his baby. This project's been cooking with him for years.
Yeah. And
he's been writing songs and riffs and lyrics and all sorts of shit, putting songs together for a very long time. And we crashed at his place when Crisis did the Heist Fest tour last year, and we stayed at his place in Newey for the night, and he showed us demos. So that was over a year ago. And since then he's been sending me demos that I listen to and like, hey, what do you think about this? Feedback, And then right at the start of this whole lockdown thing, it was progressing more. Like he was properly recording some songs with Dan, the singer, and bringing it all together. And he sort of got to me and said, what do you think of this? And I said, yeah, that's sounding shit hot, mate. And he's, what are your thoughts on, he's a Kiwi. What are your thoughts on being more involved, bro? And, we've sort of spoken about it before, but he's like, the whole lockdown isolation thing just gave everyone a bit of time to sort of concentrate on it and just tighten the screws on it a bit and, make it a thing, bring it to life. So, Faith in Lies, born during the COVID isolation.
Well,
it's like for us, it's like we're sort of spread geographically. So it's a recording project at the moment, and sort of we're collaborating from 600 Ks away, send each other guitar riffs and stuff.
Yeah.
It'll hit the stage when it's ready. Got a record to drop. We've got a 5-track EP that'll come out in a couple of months.
Sweet.
Another couple of singles. So it's all happening.
Sweet as, man. So more or less, and I was talking about this to Michael Shaw in the podcast I did with him last Saturday, and it was more or less how much all this stuff is happening because of the coronavirus, like remotely and stuff. We're talking about on a footy scale, doing remote commentary, footy commentary, whatnot. And so it's interesting to hear about on a music scale about how this all blends in together, because normally it never used to be the case. If you weren't in the same room as the other person, you were never going to make it succeed. But now we're seeing it as time evolving. Like you look at King Parrot, for example, you look at Toddy Hansen, as we know him, he based in
Scotty.
Brisbane, but the whole band's based in Melbourne, so he has to jump on a flight every so often to do the business down there. But we're also seeing it with Parkway Drive, as we know. They were due to do a big run of shows starting in the next couple of weeks, and going to Europe and whatnot. And it's that's obviously now not happening for obvious reasons, but they've switched their schedule around because they were planning on riding next year, and then now they've just done a 180 on the whole lot. So
Take advantage of the time off.
Exactly. Yeah. So it's not like that's the great thing, even though live shows aren't really happening at the moment, but it's just great to know that all these bands such as yours is they're keeping active even.
Oh, yeah, for sure, man. Like I think the just the whole forced lockdown isolation thing's just creating some time to either, identify some new projects or really rip into them. It's providing heaps of inspiration musically and lyrically and artistically as well. There's plenty going on. So there's heaps of stuff there to sort of drive the, I suppose, kicking off some of these things. And, like technology, like I am terrible with technology. You know how long it just took me to upload this Zoom thing and get it happening for this chat. But technology is a lot easier for songwriting, and it's been happening for quite a few years. And there's heaps of bands now which are just remote, and like a lot of bands that we've toured with, like international bands as well, they don't live anywhere near each other. Like some of them are different countries.
Really?
So they can write and do pre-production and stuff like that all online, virtually, and get together for recording, rehearsing, getting ready for prepping for tours and stuff like that. So it's definitely easier. I still struggle, but it's definitely easier to do it in a sense. But thank you, COVID, for giving us some light. It's really important for everyone. Yourself, like getting your footy chops, keeping them up to spec throughout the thing. It's really important for bands and artists just to keep the creative juices flowing and just keep momentum happening and keeping that fire alive.
Yeah. So, as I said, we pretty much went over that last week about how, you go from one scale to another with technology and as I said, like we're thinking about doing remote commentary down the track. But anyway, we'll see what happens. There's still no games happening as of late, probably July, August. They're talking about
the season, local footy.
Yeah, so we'll see what happens for that. So the other thing that's coming to scale too, so focusing on from crisis to collapse, and I was looking at a photo, was it a week or two ago, you're having your first jam. That time you actually did do it together. Have you been doing that through Zoom or Skype? Was that your first go after many?
We didn't do it, no. Like I know a lot of bands were doing the virtual catch up, We actually just took the time just to sort of take a bit of stock and we just went about our business. Like we spoke to each other and stuff, and still kept writing and just trying to tighten up our own elements of the band as well. There's lots of practice going on with individuals, but that was our first get together. I'd seen Unai on bass 2 or 3 times at the start of the isolation. Yeah. We kept our distance. He had to come to my place though and borrow my lawnmower. So it was good seeing him and back it all around. And but hadn't seen the other guys
really
for 3 months. Yeah,
really. So and I mean, no one saw this virus coming, whatnot, but. Did it not go in the back of your...
Depends who you talk to, mate. Some people saw it coming for years.
Yeah.
I know people who claim they had it 6 months ago. So.
Yeah, fucking hell. I mean, I've seen, read, and everything basically, and I'm still yet to... I mean, I just tell people just to deal with their own shit. Deal with their own shit just as it comes, and just deal with each day as it comes, and then just focus on the next thing, because otherwise you wrap your head around with all the people's ideas and stuff, just how the world is. It's like you just make your own choices and voice your own opinions. You're not going to be able to please everybody.
That's it, man.
Yeah, so
like the conspiracy theories, I'm not much of a reader, but I've read little bits and pieces and just I glance headlines and stuff like that and find certain things entertaining. But I'm with you. I don't take on too many other people's shit because I'm probably too self-centered, too shallow, and I'm pretty
That's
incompetent
it.
with just keep my own life on track, let alone
It's
caring
just,
about
I know. It's
too much
like,
other peripheral
I know
stuff.
you, and I learned like you're not going to please everyone, and that's the beauty of free speech. You can debate, and then you can have a beer afterwards. That's how I see it anyway. So,
Did you say beer? Don't mind
beer,
if I do.
yeah. Oh, gee. How good's the Sun Bistro's back open now? I haven't been back there yet
Yes.
since all this lockdown, but I'm hoping by this weekend I'll get to be one of 50 that's in that pub come Saturday. I think Friday. Oh, what is it today? So either on the weekend.
Today's Thursday, Wednesday.
Yeah, first after late afternoon. So more or less. So give us a bit of a background about From Crisis to Collapse. I remember when the first time I saw you play, I have to think it was Billy Nudgel Hotel. Was it 2017? I think it was. Would that have been? That would have been with.
Was that when Beast Machine and stuff played there?
Yeah, Beast Machine. I'm trying to remember who else freaking played.
Chichi's gig, Hammers.
No, I don't think Hammers played. I think the Beast Machine.
Dead Yet? Is that one?
No, it was about this time, about 2017. But it was the first time I even heard, it's not like I've seen you on Facebook, and it was the first time I actually said, well, fuck, who's this band from Byron? And I was fucking blown away, man. I'm thinking, where the fuck did this come from? And it's like,
I know the gig, man. If it was May, like, what are we in now?
April, May.
Yeah. So that would have been my first gig with the boys.
Yeah. So was that the first gig in general, or did you just come in later?
No, they'd already done one in Lismore at the Tats.
Okay.
With
good old Tats.
Who was it? A Bad and Incarnate from Ireland came through, and I think they opened for them just at the Tats. It was their first gig.
Yeah.
And there was about 3 weeks later, I think. So I'd been talking to those guys for ages. I was in another local band, and we're playing a few gigs, and it just wasn't my sort of style type thing. So I started looking for like-minded, mad people. Metalheads, and
what kind of music was your first band?
It was like hard rock, heavy alternative type stuff,
sort of like fucking Clutch, that kind of stuff,
that sort of thing. Yeah, exactly right.
Rock
like a heavy Faith No More type thing.
Yeah. I think I get the jib.
Are you struggling to picture me doing my thing?
The kind of shit that Brett Stone Mountain Savil's big on, is that one?
Yeah, that sort of stuff. Yeah, he really dug the band. He liked it.
Oh, of course he would have. I'm surprised he didn't ask you for a run up start for Stone Mountain, because I know he was keen to let that shit keep going on. I knew how much he fucking loved that band.
Oh yeah, like we've spoken about Stone Mountain and reinvigorating his singing career quite a bit, and he's asked quite a few times, any mates who'd be keen to play guitar or play drums and stuff like that.
Yeah, I know. I mean,
definitely all about it. He's got the tentacles out.
I know, and it was sad to see that band go, because I knew him. For one, I knew how much he fucking loved that band, and he tried so hard to fucking. I remember when they were playing shows at the Slipway in Ballina and Lennox Point Hotel and whatnot. And he had the whole lineup, and then all of a sudden, in the space of a couple of months, he lost the whole fucking lineup, and it was just him. Yeah. And I remember that. I just remember that really got to him, and he really, really tried his hardest to keep that band. A lot of guys would have given up a lot quickly, but he kept that going for as long as he can. Oh, fuck yeah! I mean, even doing footy commentary. He did footy commentary during the final series in 2018, just for a few weeks, and he was so passionate. He's got so much passion about everything that he does, and he just fucking loves.
If you look at the guy, it's funny how life imitates art.
Yeah,
because you look at him, he looks like a mountain.
He does. So, he's a big beast.
He is essentially Stone Mountain.
He is a fucking gentle giant. So
he is, yeah.
But
top bloke. But so I was looking to sort of head into something or start something more down my lane, and I put an ad in a musicians classified thing, just looking for heavy artists. Yeah. And I must have done that a long time, like maybe 12 months before even longer, because I forgot I'd even done it. And I got an email one day, notification saying, bing, you've matched someone's profile or something like that. I'm like, what is this shit? I don't remember signing up to this. Yeah. I open it, I'm like, oh, these guys sound sick. They're local.
Yeah.
How got a hold of them. Like I read their bio and stuff. Got a hold of them because I was looking for a guitarist at the time.
Yeah.
And that lineup had the core four guys had been around since the start.
Yeah.
A couple of other guitarists had come and go well before gigs. They were still just writing and playing some covers and stuff like that. But they're looking for a permanent second guitarist.
Yeah.
And we matched up. I made contact with him, spoke to Ian, and he sent me. He seemed super cool. Ian, who's on the other guitar, and he sent me the demos, and they sounded so shit hot. Like even without vocals, like they just sounded exactly what I was chasing. Just fast, aggressive, crunchy. Yeah, like an element there of complexity, but just balls out type stuff. So I was stoked. And then he sent me the demos and sent me some tabs to learn and stuff like this on the songs. And then they're like, "You come to band practice next week?" So yeah, I'll come. And then I'd make an excuse not to go. And
Really?
Come this next practice. Yeah, I'll be there. No worries. And I was like, I don't think I can even play this stuff on guitar.
What can I tell you? It was love at first sight, mate.
It was, yeah. And then I put it off for ages, and then they had that gig coming up, and I said, I'm going to come to the gig and just meet you fellas in Lismore.
Yeah.
And I didn't go.
Oh, you what?
But
you're playing. But I tell you what.
I made a pact. I'm like, I'm going to band practice that next Monday, and I did. I went the next week. Mm-hmm. So yeah, 3 or 4 days later, I was at band practice, met the dudes, just hit it off and clicked with them straight away. Excellent dudes, relaxed, just on the like-minded, just legends. You know the boys, they're hellmen. And that's when I went, yeah, this is the band for me. And I learnt, I think 3 or 4 songs that week, the next week.
Yeah. And
when rehearsal, I'm like, hey, my mate Chichi is running a gig. Should I see if we can get on there? It's like in 2 weeks. And that's that one you're talking about. Yeah. And like, what, you going to be ready? I'm like, yeah, don't worry about me. I'll just turn myself down. And so I think learned 5 or 6 songs, and then we played every song we knew that night. Yeah. And it was my first gig. It was 3 weeks after I officially joined the band, and 3 or 4 weeks, and the gig was sick. And then we just hit it like after that, because it clicked and it just felt right. I remember playing that gig actually. Yeah. First gig, and
I don't remember. Sorry, man.
Yeah, you probably won't.
I probably don't remember. I remember a little bit of the gig, but obviously for obvious reasons. But what I do remember,
is a board. Do you remember as a board riders club? I think it was it New Brighton Board Riders or something, presentation night, and Stone and Wood were sponsoring it. So there's heaps. Mate,
I stay out of Mullumbimby and Brunswick Heads Affairs. Being a Byron Bay, I try and stay. I don't really keep in the loop.
You feel safer
that's pretty much. But what I do remember about that gig, and I knew that it was Nudge Hotel for sure. And man, they've had some fucking loose shows ever since. But I was there getting a beer, and there's a photo of it somewhere. I'll try and find it. It was this bunch of these guys watching the footy, and then there was this Kelpie sitting up on one of the, so those bar stools. He was jumped up onto a bar stool, and this Kelpie was just sitting up high and pride on this bar stool. And the bloke there. I'll try and find it whilst we're chatting here. And so
the Billy Nudgel Hotel reminds me, just the building and the vibe and the locals who are there all the time reminds me of the Nimboida Hotel. Have you ever been there?
No, I can't say I have. But I was talking about how. I
was just going to say, like, it's hilarious, mate. Like, there's no rules. And we were there one time because we were working for my job. We're down there doing a training course, and it's like a 3-day residential thing. Mm-hmm. And there's 60 or 70 of us there. And so we owned the pub that night, this last night. And the young couple, were only about my age, were running the pub. It was owned, and I don't know if it still is, but it's Russell Crowe's thing. So it's just the pub. Yeah. And there's a museum there, and it's all Russell Crowe's movie memorabilia. And so this young couple were leaving. So this is their last weekend running the pub. So it was a party. Yeah. They said, make sure you come, and that all the locals. And anyway, it was like Coyote Ugly. The young chick, she's up on the bar shooting soft drinks and beers all across the thing with the kegs. And then walked in, and there's dogs in there. There's some guy walked in with a fucking python.
Yeah.
It was about 2.5 meters long, just wrapped around his neck, just playing pool. People getting kicked in the nuts. Like it was outrageous. But
Man,
the Billy Nudgel, the vibe reminds me of that night.
Holy shit.
In Boyd Hotel.
But yeah, it sort of reminds me of that time when I used to tour manage a band, and this was back in 2008, and we did a weekend tour out at Parks Dubbo, and Parks was something else. It wasn't really it wasn't all that kind of shit that you were going on about, but Dubbo was sort of not far off that, and this was back at the time when Byron wasn't one of the most violent towns back in 2008, but Dubbo actually got a bit of a bad rap from an outsider looking in. And then we went out there, and they were the most friendly bunch of people you'll ever meet, and we got treated like the fucking Beatles. And
they're probably just stoked to have have someone
something,
through the town.
something, yeah. So
yeah,
and like we went there, like the boys were on commercial radio, so we had to do radio interviews and talk to all these newspapers and whatnot, and we got treated like a royalty. But then you'd think like, no, the band that they were, you wouldn't have heard too much about them, but it's like you couldn't walk down the street.
What band was it?
Heard of Very Unique Existence?
Were they local guys? Are they?
Yeah. Well, they've. I think they've been around. They've wrapped up well and truly by now. But this was like back 2008.
That was the era where I was in Queensland for like 10 years there, and I missed a fair chunk of the good, the local hardcore scene. I sort of missed that. I was stuck in Brizzy at the time.
Yeah. So actually, I was going to say you do look like a bit of a Queenslander, mate.
Fuck off! No, not a hope.
Yeah, I think a few tattoos there. When I first met you, I thought, fuck, you look like one of someone from, I wouldn't say Logan, but I'll probably say South Brisbane.
Beenleigh?
No, not Beenleigh. Probably some South Brisbane, probably Wynnum or something like that. Wynnum Manly, I think. But then again,
I was at Camp Hill for a while. That was sort of class south side.
Yeah. All right. Well, I found this photo. I'll see if I'll have a go at trying to share it. So here we are. So this is the one that I was talking about. Can you see that there? That's the Kelpie.
Is that Laurie Daly on the left?
Laurie Daly?
Look at him.
Yeah, so that was a... Yeah,
that dog just assumed... I reckon if you turned that bar stool upside down, it would have that dog... It would have Fido scratched in underneath it. That's his stool.
So he's one of the... So you're suggesting he's one of the ones that they roll out... when they roll out like at 10 in the morning, and then everyone's got their own seat that they sit in, and then basically if and when they pass away, they cut that section off, and it's no one's allowed to ever sit in that section ever again. There are some
remains
places,
a homage.
There are actually a lot of places that are like that, even around here. Like I've heard stories about certain areas once a person's no longer with us, that they shut that part of the bar off, or they change it up. So to preserve that person's memory.
For sure. I think when someone's been, somewhere or doing something, they leave a legacy behind, even if it is providing local entertainment and, just good times at a bar.
Absolutely.
And just, if they've been there for 20 years and then they pass away, someone just assumes their role in the seat, it would feel very, very awkward.
So more or less, so now that you've been with the boy, you say you're pretty much, even though you played a hard bargain at the start, you'd say you're now a well-established member from Crisis to Collapse. Tell us some of it. You've done a few, not international, but national tours with 36 Crazy Fists. It was about this time last year. And then you've done the Heist with Super Heist, and you've done a whole bunch of international shows. You played with Sepultura a couple of years ago up in Brizzy. Just played a tray you were supposed to play with Unearth about a month ago. And so tell me, so with all those highlights and playing with Soilwork as well, when we had that late night Macca's run coming back from that,
with an absolute legend.
That was a good night back in October last year. But tell it, what are some of the everyone's got a war story about when they go on tour and like their bus breaks down or they hit a kangaroo like Parkway Drive did. Does there any of those kind of stories spring to mind?
Oh, I think it was in, 2020, 2019, 2018. We did a string of shows with King Parrot.
Uh-huh.
And for their regional Rampage tour, I think it ended up, it was like 20 dates. I think we did 5 or 6 with them, a couple of local ones. And then we also ended up on the last show with them in Sydney. And, funny you say that, because that's the same weekend I met the guys from Take My Soul and Lycanthrope, who are in Faith in Lies. Hey, so we're playing this gig in Sydney. I think it was under the Southern Cross Festival, and we're headlining that as well. And so we hadn't seen the guys for probably a week, King Parrot Boys.
Okay.
And in that, so when we played the first gig with them about a week and a half earlier, I was super sick. Like I don't know what is wrong with me, cracking fevers, sore throat like you could not believe.
So
and
COVID?
we played.
COVID.
It wasn't COVID. We're talking. Yeah, well, you know what? Let's start a thing. I had COVID in 2019, April 2019. I had COVID.
That was it. Yeah, actually, I think I remember you saying something. You were a bit crook at that.
Oh yeah. So we played Lismore. I remember we played the first gig was in Lismore.
I remember the Lismore. I wasn't at that
thing. I didn't even want to go. Like I felt like dying. But it ended up being a good show. And it's weird because you feel like dying, and the moment you just you're doing sound check and whatever, and when it's your turn to go up, you put the guitar in, like, oh fuck, don't want to do it. And then Marco will tap the sticks, and then it's just, you're on.
It's like
for the next half an hour, 40 minutes, and then after it, you're like, death. And
did adrenaline just take over? Is that all that got you through?
Yeah, it just gets you through it, and then literally it feels like you hit a wall. I remember loading the truck that night, and it's like, put a knife in me, Jerry, I'm done. And then we played on the Gold Coast the next night, and with King Parrot, and I was feeling way worse, and I just remember chugging down heaps of Panadol just to get through it.
Yeah.
And driving home that night, I remember yawning. Like I was pretty tired. I was like, I got near Bangalore, so nearly home, yawned, and I felt like my throat split. I'm like, I had to pull over. I'm like, what is wrong with me? I felt like I'd split my throat. And I got home, fevers, Panadol, went to the doctor the next day, and he's like, you've got full-on tonsillitis.
Fuck.
I can't have tonsillitis. I haven't got fucking tonsils, mate. He's like, no, you can still get it. So, full-on tonsillitis, and I rang the boys. I'm like, I don't know if I can do many more gigs this week. Like I'm cactus, and anyway, we didn't have any more that week. I think it was. Is the next week we're going down. The next Friday we're going down to Newcastle to play with Take My Soul and Lycanthrope, and then we're going to Sydney on the Saturday night to play with King Parrot. Yeah. And I was coming good because I was on antibiotics by then. Yeah. And Gus, hey boys, I think I got what Chad's got. No way, mate, you can't. If you feel anything like I did, it's gonna kill you. He's like, yeah. And then Ian's wife had it big time.
Fuck.
Ian had it. Ian got it within the week. Ian's wife, Alice, copped it and had to go to the doctors. And then we had antibiotics, so we we're getting over it.
Yeah.
Gus refuses to take antibiotics. He's like, nah, my body's a temple. I'm going to rub this crystal on my throat. And it's going to heal me. We're like, don't risk it, man.
Did it? So
I end up grabbing an extra dose of antibiotics, catching up with Gus at the Bangalore Bowling Club, doing this little hustle in the car park. It's like, take these, mate. Show me your tonsils. He opened his mouth. He had all this white shit on his tonsils. Like, fuck. And then we're 2 days away from going. Yeah. And he's like, I'll be right, mate. It's like, no, take these. Keep taking them 3 times a day. So, yeah. And anyway, driving down the Newcastle, we're on the same bus, like in the truck with the trailer. And he's just like, he can't talk. He's just feeling like shit. Got there, played a sick gig at the Hamo. Like, we'd never been to Newcastle. Yeah. And there was heaps of people there. It was a wicked night. The boys and the bands were sick. And then we stayed in Newcastle that night. The next day, Gus was absolutely fucked. Yeah. Like, couldn't move. Got there, did this one at the old Ball-Faced Stag, which is now Crowbar.
Yeah, down in Sydney.
And got through it though. And so Gus was all good. Got through it. But when we're talking to on that same tour, King Parrot had Child Bite from the States. Yeah. They're on the same label, Phil Anselmo's label, Housecore. Yeah. So Child Bite, we're doing the whole tour with them, and it's their last night of the gig. And the guitarist, I was having a good chat to him. It's like, "How you been, man?" He's like, "Yeah, been all right. Man, a couple of boys had a really bad sore throat." I was like,
Oh.
"No." So yeah, this tonsillitis, man, nearly wiped us out. Nearly
Oh,
wiped
gee.
out one
And
deadline.
that was
So
and that back at that time. I mean, that's a big tour even for you boys now, even after all the shows you've done since then. But even back at that point, had like, did they know that you guys were the epicenter of this tonsillitis, or
I don't
was
know. Like
well, they
I
probably
said,
fucking do now.
yeah, yeah. Don't watch the Duane-o Podcast.
Oh no. Oh,
Yeah,
Toddy
yeah.
will.
So I nearly single-handedly took down that tour, but lucky it was the last
Oh
week. So
god, because I mean, yeah, you're bringing in a national band like Childbite over, and then you find out that a little band that the little band at the time from
the
Byron
baby
Bay,
band.
the baby band that is responsible for killing off the tour literally,
Yeah.
and then they've travelled what fucking
And
13 hours to get here, and oh geez.
do you know Youngie from King Parrot, the singer?
Oh
Have you met
well, I
Youngie?
know I've spoken to him a couple of times, but I like,
Yeah.
but that's
So he
yeah.
looks like a crazy motherfucker on stage, which he is.
Yeah,
Like it's
he
like,
is. Yeah,
and he's like the dude from Childbite, like something just they become possessed, and the head
yeah,
spins around and like all these crosses just split on their
yeah.
foreheads and stuff. But like off stage, he's a very friendly dude, and he's
He
getting too
is. Yeah,
friendly with me. Like he just wanted cuddles all the time, playing those shows. He wanted
yeah.
to do bro hugs, and he's getting a bit close. And I was like, "Please, Youngie, don't. I'm doing it for you. I'm trying to protect you.
Yeah,
Stay away from here, okay?"
yeah.
So as hard as it was, he managed to sort of keep his distance, and we sort of protected him. But yeah, it's
Protected.
touch and go there for a while, mate.
Oh, mate. Well, as I said, now that the
If you're
cat's
out there,
out.
Youngie, I miss you, buddy.
Well, hopefully, you boys can do another tour when all this bullshit's over with the COVID.
That'd be
So
nice. We were planning for October, November with another band, epic band from down in Melbourne,
yeah,
but it's just too risky. Like, like even venues, there's so much uncertainty, and even when venues do reopen, live music venues, which I think
yeah,
it's pretty clear they're going to be the last thing to reopen once COVID calms down, but. Who knows how heavy the restrictions will be? And if a club is restricted, if a music venue which holds 400 is restricted to 50,
yeah.
band, crew, and ticket holders, there's no way it's ever going to be viable for them to remain open. So
That's right.
we won't see those venues open
And the Northern,
until they can fully open. Yeah, or
the
that's if they survive at all.
yeah.
Unfortunately.
So say for the Northern, for example, I just they've just opened up now today. With the 50 people. So hopefully by the end of the year we can at least start seeing domestic bands play again. And I know because it's one of those things as I said before, it's all well and good that we can do the remote stuff, and then we're seeing I know that I saw a couple of shows on the Saturday night. No Living End did a live stream from the Northern. But they obviously recorded it and then they streamed it. It's great that things like that's happening, but then you can kind of just sense that it's almost time to make it happen again, even if it's just 100 people or, I know the Northern only holds 400. So you'd think by the end of the year, you'd think 300-400, because it's going to be 100
Oh,
by
no,
July.
Northern holds way more than that, man.
Really? I thought it held about
it's
500.
No, it's a 550 capacity plus
Yeah.
band, crew and stuff like that. It's a big room.
Do you think that would be the where the benchmark would be by say end of year? Do you think you'd like to think 500 would be the benchmark? But
Nice,
yeah, because it seems to be like, well, it's 50 at the moment, and then you think it'd be 100 by July, and then you'd kind of think you might double that each year. So 200 each month goes past. So 200 in August, say 300, and then go up by 100. You think by 500 by December, and it's going to be warmer by then. So you'd think any virus wouldn't, survive as long as it would be outdoors. So
yeah,
you think,
even if it's 300, most of the clubs in Australia are around that 300-400 mark, and even then when you get 400 people in there, it feels bloody tight. So if it gets to the point where 300 per venue, that would be, you'd think that'd be viable for tours to kick off again, and for these places to reopen and, pay their staff and turn over enough cash to make it worthwhile.
absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. One thing I'd like to see was shows again. One thing I have noticed, like ever since this outbreak hit, they've been having the Metallica Monday, so it would be Tuesday here in Australia if you're watching overseas. So the Metallica boys would be replaying an old show. Um, and not just that, I've been watching a lot of old European festivals as well. But one thing that I kind of hope that changes, and it's would be that a lot of these touring bands. I'll just go back. I'll just give you a slight history lesson. Back when Soundwave started, not started, but when Soundwave really started getting big, you remember 2011, 12, when it used to be just a hardcore punk music festival with maybe Deftones thrown in it back in 07. When it started getting really, mixing all the heavy bands and bringing all the overseas bands like 2011, 12. So that's when...
Man, that was, for me, that was better than Christmas.
Yeah.
That was my one day of the year I got a green light to like just go disappearing and not come back.
Here's the problem though, and this is what changed my landscape on going to live shows, because I've been to a fuck ton of gigs even at this point. And you see, because the lineups were so massive, you had to really go and do it twice, and then you want to go see some side shows. So for 2011, 12, I did Brisbane and I did Melbourne, went and saw some side shows, and then do Melbourne and sort of kind of see. There was only a few bands I didn't see. I think in 2012, there was only a few I didn't see in Brisbane, and then I'd go and redo that, and then I'd just fill in the day of whatever scene. And one thing that actually killed my taste, like it's not completely killed, but it's sort of opened my eyes a bit. And this was sort of like, I mean, YouTube was around and all that, but not to the extent it is now. And then people, it's even showing its hand even more. And this is probably why I didn't sense it until now, like back in the late 2007, 8, 9 period, is how all these international bands, they play this, not only do they play the same songs back to back to back to back, but
they say the same thing in between songs
and they change the city around. And I just think, well, like I've gone all the way down to fucking Melbourne and I'm seeing, let's put it this way, Raise Fist, the band I didn't think would do that. And like one of those, and they're like a hardcore band and like, they don't buy into that shit. So they play Brisbane and they killed it. And they say, oh, Brisbane, it's so warm here. It's really, really cold back in Sweden, blah, 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 blah. Then I saw him in Melbourne with Hatebreed and Biohazard and Cro-Mags on their own show. And it's like in between that same song where Melbourne, it's so fucking hot here. I'm like, oh, fuck me. Like, it's a script. And it's like...
They're sticking to a script, mate.
And I'll give you another opposite, like Trivium last year. And the thing is, they all... like the Good Things Festival, I wasn't even going to go. And it's for this part of this reason is that I really wanted... I hadn't seen Trivium for 3 or 4 years. And they released Sin in the Sentence album and fucking loved it. And I just want to say that. But it was also knowing that I was paying 200 quid to know that I know exactly what they're going to play because I've watched their, this was before they announced their tour, but I've been watching live stuff, from their European stuff and from
same set.
And it's the same set. And then it's going to say the same shit. And it's so, Matt Heafy would say, I think they were playing Resurrection Fest in Spain. And then they say, Portugal, you got to do this. Portugal was this high. And then sure enough, we'll see him in Brisbane. Sydney was it this high. Brisbane, this is your chance to be the best show on the tour. And
We're up here.
And you know what? Brisbane, that was their last show of the Sin in the Sentence circuit.
Cycle,
So Brisbane is forever the best show on the Trivium tour. Because there's no more shows after, not on that. So how good's
by
that?
default?
Oh, but it is Brisbane after all, mate. So
they had they were the Stephen Bradbury of the top of the tour.
Hey, mate, it was Brisbane. What could I say? There was always going to be a tour.
Full of lovely joint, full of Queenslanders though. Unfortunately,
yeah, that's right. Now, I'll tell you another story. When Comeback Kid played, and I didn't stick around to see this because I like to catch a train when I go to shows in Brisbane. Comeback Kid were supporting Silverstein, and I was being back through the Comeback Kid guys. I got to hang side stage and backstage with the boys and stuff, have a couple of beers and stuff. And and I was chatting to, I think, the singer from Silverstein, and he was like,
I think there was a few more than just some beers. Like, you look like there was some shenanigans going down at a hotel room or something.
No. That was the one at the start of the year. That was at Crowbar. That was this one.
Right,
This was a couple of years ago.
Yeah, right.
This is back before. This was back when I was, I was single. I had to jump in the car and go back to Byron that night. Back at that time, but the Silverstein singer came to me and goes, what can I say to get this crowd up and going? I said, just yell out, "Go the Broncos," and then you'll get mass raps. And I don't know if he said it or not, because they played I saw it for a couple of songs, and then I kind of bailed, so I had to catch the last train out. But I just thought, just yell out, "Go Broncos," and that's all you got to do.
Should have said something like, "Alfie Langer is a maggot," or something like that, and just that would fire them up. King Wally.
Yeah, what? Alfie's a maggot, like,
People actually know, being Brisbane guys, they'd probably all cheer that one because they'd understand that, yeah, it's the truth.
Well, that's true. Oh man, so yeah, but that's what I want to say, because another thing that at that same festival, the Good Things Festival, when we saw Parkway playing again, they had their the setup. They had that came and walked out with all the fire and stuff, and I found that out from watching their live streams as well with Varkin and stuff, and it was all fucking great. They do like to change it up a bit though. Like, did you watch that documentary that they put out?
Yeah, it's
sick. Pretty impressive. Yeah.
Yeah, it's great.
How was it with that? They put Pi's mum in the crowd. So, but I mean, they change it up a bit. But I mean, their stage show is kind of the same. I mean, with their setup, you sort of have to. But yeah,
I'd say with a setup like that, where there's a lot of choreography and pyrotechnics and production, it'd have to be set pretty well so it sticks to a script each tour cycle.
Yeah, for me though,
but saying that, there's still no excuse to say that, regurgitate the same words between the same two songs every show of the night, of the week.
So I was thinking with Parkway though, like, again, I thought, fuck, I got to see this, all the fire and all that shit firing up, like from a live point of view. I've seen it half a dozen times on YouTube, but I was reading the comments from one of the punters after the show. And I thought he was just being another one of those.
I got smoke in my eye.
Yeah, probably. So I thought he was some kind of whinger, but then I thought he did make a sort of a point to regard. He said something he said something along the lines, and I get it. It's still in the Reverence tour cycle, so I get it. But he was saying that there was nothing played from Killing with a Smile, barely anything off Deep Blue, and they're kind of thinking, well, now they've changed their sound, they're going to try and they're just playing it safe, so to speak, because now they've got big following, which is rightfully deserved that they have. They're you and I know that, knowing the boys and stuff and seeing them throughout the years, but they kind of think, well, they're kind of playing it safe for the new stuff. And when I read through the set list, I'm thinking, well, I wouldn't say playing it safe, but I mean, he does make a point that if they want to go to that next level, like that was okay. Reverence, that's their Black Album, the Metallica Black Album. You got to play Kill 'Em All, you got to play Ride the Lightning, like you got to play some of it. So I'm thinking, well, obviously won't come into fruition next Saturday, which is when they were supposed to do their next show with Hate Brand Every Time I Die. I'd like to think that maybe they do start mixing it back up again and look after the people that grew up with Killing with a Smile and can appreciate Reverence. And I'd like to see them do that instead of just.
Man, I love Parkway, and I reckon it'd be sick once they finish this next round, because they did that other arena sort of tour a couple of years ago with Dioti's Murder.
And
Killswitch Engage.
Yeah. That was at River Stage, so
so
not
it'd be good
really
to get
an arena, but yeah.
Well, they're big venues though, and outdoor venues. But they get this next arena run done. It'd be awesome to see it, strip it right back, ditch the production, and just go a big regional tour of Australia. That would be sick.
Well, yeah, and that's the other thing too, because being a regional band, who knows when we'd ever see them in Byron again? Like, because the thing is that we live in a town that denied Elton John all those years ago, because the way it's set up, and I don't know the full legality on it, but I think Byron's only allowed X amount of big shows per year, and that's normally tied up with Falls Festival, Splendor in the Grass,
Blues.
and Blues. And you think now Parkway Drive, they're now in that bracket. So they can't play at the high school no more because they. I had an actually idea for that. Northern, obviously, I always suggested Red Devil Park, especially with their setup. And but I mean, I don't know how Byron goes if he can start shooting off flames and stuff. But I know if Byron if Byron didn't want it, I know Kingsford Smith Park and Ballina will take it. They had Bob Dylan there, so that's kind of the only.
There's more than one way to skin a cat for sure. But I reckon it would be sick to see him back at a club. Yeah, like see him at the Northern. Because do you remember when we played with In Hearts Wake? It was a sellout there.
Oh yeah.
2018. It'd sell out easily. It'd sell out probably within an hour, I reckon, if Parkway played. But imagine having the 550, 600 people jammed in there, just the club. You're nice and close to the band. That would be epic.
Which sort of brings me to my idea that I had, and it sort of is. It's not my idea. It's a Living End idea. But this would be, especially now when punters starting to come back. Sort of coming back live shows, like instead of planning a world tour, what they could possibly do, and then this would look after all their fans from early years up until today. Would be to play, and you do this in Byron, you do this at the Northern. So what Living End did, they did a whole tour across the country with this. They did Brisbane, Sydney, everywhere, and they played 6-7 shows. They played one each night. And they played one even. So what they did is they played front to back of all their albums. So they played their first album one night, then they played the other album and their newer stuff. And I went for the self-titled one because that was obviously, the one I grew up with and it was easily the most popular. But with Parkway, they could play Killing with a Smile front to back one night. They probably do that at the youth centre. And then they could they could do youth centre and then they could play the Northern. And then being only half an hour, you could probably, you might, you could probably put Killing with a Smile, maybe, what's their album after that? Horizons. So you trying to mix the two together, get an hour set out of that. I know they already did like a tour with the Horizons album. Then they could do Deep Blue and the following night. And then, because everyone's going to want to see them as well. So they kind of say, we're playing this one. They book the Northern out for a week and they just do it like that. And a lot of artists on Broadway and plays and stuff, they book out a place for fucking 6 weeks. Like the Book of Mormons, they'll book out Brisbane for 6 weeks and they'll just play and they'll get all the punters through the door. Parkway should book out the Northern for 2 weeks and just play all these shows. Hey, it would sell.
Parkway Fiesta.
Yeah, makes up for not playing it since 2015. I wasn't even.
They could just mix up their set, incorporate a headline set. They do an hour and a half or something. Yeah. Incorporate a lot of their catalog, but do 2 shows and have a different set each night. Whether you do back-to-back albums or something, you could definitely address the whole history.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's just like it sort of hit home when I read that person's comment after about a dozen beers and a whole.
You're like, yeah, me too.
Well, because that last show the last gig I actually saw was when I saw you play in Brisbane with Atreyu up at the Zoo. That was show number, and I keep a log of my shows, 999. And I was fought for all money to have number 1,000 tick off this year. I've been wanting to do this 1,000 gig of mine since 2014. That's how far back. So that's 6 years. I didn't go to many shows.
That's commitment.
I know. And then 2015, I think 2016, 17, I didn't really go to many shows at all. Like I probably went to a dozen, if that, each year. And then I became single again in 2018. I didn't go as hard as I did. I did like 160 odd shows in 2009. But back...
And what the punters need to understand is, who are listening to this show, is you're doing 169 gigs in a year, but then you're also doing about 400 sporting events in that same year between soccer and footy. And do you go to cricket?
You
don't do that.
No. Well, I went to my first ever Big Bash game end of last year up at the Gold Coast. So,
Yeah, right. So you're not an avid
oh,
mad cricket head.
I loved it when I was a kid. I still do like it. Yeah, it's like it was the same night that Cog played here
Right.
at Northern. So I just thought, well, I saw Cog already at the beginning of the year, so
Yeah.
I need to tick that off. So, but it's so 2018. I was like, well, I think I was about like 50 show per a week on average, about 50, 60 or something. So I thought it was just shy of the 1,000 then, and then I didn't go to a whole lot last year. I mean, commentating football on the weekends now sort of took precedence, and then I just thought, well, I was just shy of that. And then, I thought, well, definitely next year. It's been this year. And then the COVID virus comes and knocks out all the lives.
Fucks the plans.
Yeah. So
wow. So what? Unearth might have been 1,000 because it was sneaking in before
that would have
Parkway.
been number 1,000. Yeah.
Because I remember you're talking. You're like, I really want to come to Unearth, but I think you had a double header or something that weekend.
I had
well, I would have made.
Okay, well, I had I was going to go to that Magic.
Night.
It was the Magic round in Brisbane on the Friday night. Broncos playing Manly, as you know. Then I was going to go with a mate to the second day. The Raiders are supposed to play the Bulldogs on the Saturday. Then I was supposed to commentate football in Lismore on that Sunday. So I would have had to do all that, then go to Brisbane. Sorry, not Brisbane. Would have been the Gold Coast. Then go to Lismore, then back up to Brisbane. So,
but if anyone can do it, it could be Super Duane.
Oh mate, it was
hard. Like Daredevil.
I was like in my when I was in my mid-20s. Those days, even then, were like getting beyond me. Like I remember when I saw Converged back in 2010. That show didn't wrap because this was back when I'd come back and I used to have to get up to work on a Sunday morning at 6 a.m. They finished at 12. Well, as you do up in Brisbane, and this was when daylight savings kicked in, and we went there.
The worst, isn't it?
And we went there with my mate, one of my best mates, Dylan, and we also went with Nathan from Secret Death, and you're familiar with the Silencio Inside, Nick. Yeah. So we went together, and they had a ride with us, and fucking Nathan was cracking funnies all night. He was talking about where he was, conceived and born and all that kind of stuff up in Brisbane. So, but they were just pissing about and added an extra hour, like an extra hour and a half to a 1 hour trip. And so I had, as I said, I had to work.
Man.
So I had to drop those boys off, and my mate did, and I think I got back to Byron at 4 a.m. to start at 6. So after
that's fucking brutal, isn't it? I remember when we did like when we're talking about the tour for November this year, talking to the promoter, and the promoter's like, just given everything that's happening, if we're going to go ahead, it's definitely going to be a driving job. And it's like, and you just end up I've got PTSD from the Brisbane to Sydney drive, back to back. And when we did it for Heist Fest last year, we played at the back room in Brizzy. It was in April, so it's daylight savings.
Yeah.
And finished at 3, I think it was, by the time you pack up everything and all the merch is in and everything, because we were driving, and towing a lot of the merch and other gear for the bands. And so it's 3 o'clock. You drive an hour and a bit south, 2 hours south. It's 6 o'clock. Daylight savings. You lose an hour at 7 o'clock. So as you get the Tweed Heads at 7 a.m. and you've still got you got to be in Sydney by 5 p.m. that afternoon. It's just chaos, mate. That was the worst drive ever.
I know, and I mean, I've seen, and after that Soilwork show, I know how much work is really. I mean, I've seen it when as I said, I managed Very Unique Existence. I know how much is involved, but I see how much these punters they don't realize how much is actually involved in what goes into a live show. And then when I was there with you helping you pack up and putting all your rigs and stuff back, and I'm thinking, holy shit, man! Like, you're ready to blast off, ready to do like Metallica, 1993 with all the load that you've got there. You got
exactly right. And then
stuff.
You seriously, you look at the merch stand and you're like, fuck, can we ride it off and just leave it all here? Do we really need it? Pack all that up, and then there's usually people you want to say good day, you got to say bye to and stuff like this. And, and when you get in the car, the last thing you want to do is put music on.
No, well,
have a silent drive.
Yeah, well, but I mean, like with me when I did those late night drives back to Byron, I haven't done one for a while because I just the part with
Stop on the Gold Coast.
Yeah, that's right. But back when, like that year between when I was single, like 2018, when I had to go back to Byron that night, I can't listen to heavy music after 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock. I listen to a lot of like Eric Clapton, maybe Phil Collins, some, just some easy, and it's a game changer. Like on your drives back,
sure, mate.
you just, like people say they listen to all this heavy stuff to do it, but if you just come back from seeing a heavy band and you need to concentrate, man, you need to chill the fuck out, because it's
exactly right.
Because otherwise,
like, if you're anything like me, you've just got these ears that ring all the time as well.
Yeah.
So you've been exposed to super loud noise for 3 or 4 hours. Just need quiet, man.
Yeah. So you've actually done what was it, middle of last year, beginning of last year, you did a film clip from Christ Collapse. Tell us a bit about it. So was it filmed down in Bangalore, Newrybar, that way, or? Yeah, I could kind of sense the scenery.
Yeah. So that bamboo. So yeah, with that one, that was going to be the first big production clip that we dropped for the EP, the Seventh Tree. And so we wanted to make sure it was sick. Yeah. And so we just threw caution in the wind, and all the boys went, should we give Gus something to do? He's a mad fucker with a crazy imagination. He's like, yeah.
So I'm just playing a little bit. Like, so this is not going to have audio on it. So
yeah.
So we're just playing. Just if you're watching this, if you're not watching this on YouTube, just bear with us here. So there's Marco like slipping on the little rolly.
Yeah.
And we're gonna see you just knocking the.
Yeah.
Like, look at you. You're like, what the fuck? You're like, how many takes?
That whole what the fuck was unscripted.
I was gonna say, what caused that? How many takes? Now,
yeah, this whole thing, like, that was probably, I can't remember how many takes that was. It was a good few though, probably 5 or 6. But even right at the start before the music kicks in, you see Gus driving the truck down the road. That's actually shot at Boulders in Ballina.
Yeah, right. Okay, so was that what near Shores Bay, was it, or?
No, further up, just behind the point near Leddings.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah, and so so we gave Gus artistic license and went, man, you come up with it. His mate, like a really close mate of his and a good mate of ours, Ali, but he grew up with him in Sydney. Been living in Byron for a few years.
Is this why you got all the fucking fluoros and all that shit?
Yeah. And Ali specialises. So Ali was the director and shot it, and that's one of his main things, using that high def effect.
Oh, mate, you would have been right at the moment in this scene, wouldn't you?
Oh yeah, just rubbing Gussie's head.
So
that was so good, man. So yeah, we shot that first scene, the whole car park thing, and Gus falling off the ledge up at Boulders, and then we spent. So that was one night, and because we're doing it in January, so full blown summer.
What time?
Hot as hell, but long days, man. And because it's all shot at night, we couldn't start filming until 8:30, 9 o'clock at night. So
I was going to say, what time of night were you doing? Was that
that one there was probably till about 11:30 or something, just doing that car park one. And then we did another night at a friend's property in Newrybar.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, Ewingsdale.
Okay.
That was Ewingsdale. It's just up past Parkway, actually, Parkway Drive. They got this awesome property with a massive pool, and that's where we did the splash scene where Gus falls in the water, and we're all on the water and we pull him down. And that took forever, man. Like, that was, for that 5-second clip, we were there for a solid 4 hours. Just getting the right angle, getting the right light, putting black sheets up. But it was awesome fun. And like, that's actually my hand that comes and grabs his face. And, we've done it 50 times. I'm like, I was going to grab him by the face, didn't tell anyone. And I just wanted to hurt him type thing. I'm like, come on, Gus, get down here. And then Ali's like, who did that? That was sick. We need to use that. So kept that one. And then we shot another night in the bamboo forest thing in Bangalore.
Yeah.
And so I went and it's like a council property. It's actually like something to do with the water system, and there's like irrigation stuff there. I don't even know if it's safe to be in there, but we took the gamble. I went and seen the neighbours and just said, this is what we're doing. They're like, yeah, that's fine.
Yeah.
And so we did a little really, like, we're in there probably 300 or 400 metres, painted up
Yeah.
in body paint. It's about
Yeah.
35 degrees, 190 million% humidity. And we started filming about 9 o'clock, 9:30. Took a fair while, had lights and stuff set up, went through the song a few times. And so, yeah, no, Marco's just pretending to hit for the majority of it where it's in the background, so we're nice and quiet. But then it came the time where they needed to get the close-ups of Marco, and you had to be hitting it. And it's like, holy shit. It's like, it's midnight now.
Now, speaking of Marco, it was about a year ago when we all went and saw Carnival together at the North, and he done something very, very silly.
Did himself a mischief, didn't he?
Did himself a little mischief, and done a good job fucking up his wrist, trying to do tricks on a bike or something. He got sloshed in typical Marco fashion and just went booyah.
Yeah, that's it.
Do you know something? Actually, when I left him that night, I said, mate, don't do yourself a mischief on the way back. We're both drunk. Don't do yourself a mischief. Okay, you look after yourself. And he goes, oh, yeah, I'll be fine. I'm like, I jinxed him there. I do it in commentary all the time. I say something and then the player drops the ball. I say they're having a good game and boom. Yeah. Okay, so now that you've got Faith and Lies and from Christ to Collapse, what are in the pipeline for next? Well, as you said, hoping for a tour in November. Any new music coming up on either end?
Yeah. So tour's not happening now. It's just everything's being put on ice till next year. We're not even going to bother. Just going to focus on releasing some new music with Crisis. So just before the lockdowns happened and the border closures with the COVID situation, we started tracking some new songs.
Yeah.
And so we're doing those with Corey Judd from Colossal Tracks in Brizzy. He also plays guitar in that deathcore band, A Night in Texas.
Yeah.
So Corey's a legend. So we tracked drums for a few new songs on the Gold Coast. They're all edited, but the next, within days, they locked the borders. So, and they're still locked, as you know. So we can't even get up to Brizzy because we've got to go to Brizzy now and do the guitars and stuff. And then, once he's edited those, going to send them to DW Norton from Super Heist. And he's going to mix the songs for us and we'll lay down the vocals up there on the sunny coast with him. But it's like a holding pattern, man. So those songs are just percolating away, just ready for us to finally get up there and finish recording. So anyway, we'll have a few new songs out by the end of the year, all things traveling well.
I tell you what,
they're 6 songs. They're bangers. I've been playing them live a few times this year and getting a great response. So,
tell you what, mate,
sorry, man.
Yeah. Sorry, I tell you what, I'm fucking missing Queensland, eh? So, you're talking about the borders. I mean, as I said, Are
you tearing up? Are you?
Hey, no, it's just.
You're tearing up. Getting a bit patriotic.
Oh, mate, they were supposed to have State of Origin. What was it? 2 days ago? Well, actually, last night would have been the first game and stuff. But hopefully
gutted.
Yeah, it's hard enough to, when you can't even go see your partner up there. That's so. But hopefully, I mean, at the same time, I know there's at the very least, she's been coming down here and stuff, but it's more or less there's other people that are in more dire situations than us, so it's the perspective thing. Yeah, the perspective thing on it.
But in saying that, man, I'm also hearing respecting the laws, but I'm hearing about some people getting passes for some dodgy reasons.
Well, I mean,
their hairdresser is in Queensland, so they're getting a fucking access pass.
I know. It's more or less it's getting to that point now where people are taking it in their own hands. They really are, because
for sure. But just getting back to the mute, Crisis will have a couple new songs out. Faith and Lies will have another couple of songs come out in the next 2 months in that EP. So musically, there's lots happening with my bands. There's a lot of bands releasing music as we go. At the moment, doing some good stuff. So I'm pretty sure new music releases will continue throughout the rest of the year. But just the touring is on ice.
And well, that's the one thing that when this whole COVID thing kicked off, is that at least Spotify is still up and running, and then bands are still releasing material, and that's something which is the cornerstone, which is in a very dire situation at the time. So and the other thing that's coming up, which hopefully will surfaced either this year, if not, hopefully next year, is of course from you boys are going to be the soundtrack to the NRRL live stream. Yeah, so whether
career highlight,
yeah. So hopefully it's probably going to be. I'm guessing it'll be more next year than this year. I'm not sure if they're playing footy this year or not. So or if it's happening, if there's going to be streaming or anything. But I can tell you, like I've heard the Masters, man. It sounds pretty well knitted into the into the opener. So now now I don't even need to see the game. I'm just reminded of you when commentating football. So it's perfect.
So that would have been close to being launched, I suppose. Like
season would have been April 5. That was going to be the first
so it would have been a couple of weeks, and then
boom,
just missed out.
Absolutely, but it's on the shelf. We'll be ready to go next year, and I can't wait to actually hear it when it goes on the Mark Off Media YouTube page when we're about to call round 1, whenever that may be.
Epic, mate.
It's going to be epic. So anyway, to anyone that isn't familiar with From Crisis to Collapse or Faith to Lies, where can they find your stuff, bro?
Pretty well everywhere, man.
So that's the Instagram there for From Crisis to Collapse.
Instagram, Facebook, websites.
Look at that young Faith down below there. Look at you down there.
What a stunner. So everything's on the social medias, and Faith in Lies doesn't have a website yet, whether it does or not.
It's good.
From Cross the Collapse, got web store on the website. You can get music and merch from Black Mountain Music. You can get it from Artie's Wall Records.
Bit more serious looking this one, man. In this one
look
here.
at that.
Look at that.
So that's a mash together. See, I've got John Wick to my on my left-hand shoulder there. That's Matty Stozier on bass.
Yeah.
And he's also a graphic artist. So I had to sort of throw this together as a during isolation limitation band shot.
Yeah.
But he's done well at just merging existing photos and make it look like we're in the same room. So that's cool.
Well, I can't wait to see. I've said this from my insiders from the start, that I think with the From Crisis Collapse stuff, you're on the same road as the other two, Byron Bay, Parkway Drive, and Arts Wake. You're on the right track, brother. I mean, you don't just line up with Sepultura just by accident. And then no doubt Faith and Lies, that's going to be some big things there too. So hopefully when all this bullshit with the COVID finishes up, we're going to see you back on there, bounce around the stage for both bands.
It, man. COVID can fuck off very soon, so we can get back to business.
And then you and I will be back in Brizzy and having those 2 a.m. McDonald's feeds on the way back to my partner's place on the Gold Coast.
Sounds good, brother. Sounds good.
Brother, it was the third time of trying, but I'm glad we got this chat out of the way, and won't be too long before we get you back on the podcast.
Sounds good, mate. All the best with the podcast. Thanks for having me on board.
No worries. And if you, as I said at the start there, if you are watching this on YouTube, head over to anchor.fm/Duane-o. If you want to check the audio versions of these, if you're more into Android, you can check it out on Spotify or Google. I think on the Google podcast there, I think it's they've just started back up. And, of course, we just got onto iTunes as well. If you prefer Apple, and if you're listening on audio and you want to see our ugly mugs here and then see all that stuff that we just put up, you can head over to the YouTube page. So just head over to anchor.fm/Duane-o. All the links there for all of that is there, as well as the Instagram page. Follow, like, subscribe, just so not just my nearest and dearest are there following it. And we'll keep bringing you the best stuff that's happening in this part of the world, brother. Absolute pleasure as always. Love this glass, by the way. You need to get in a suit and tie and do a full corporate get up when you're on stage next. It just
you reckon?
Absolutely, man.
Go all scar.
Yeah, man. We'll go out to what's that fucking place called? What is it? They've got one in Harbour Town. Shit, I forget what it's called.
Are you talking like Taro Cash or something a bit more flat?
Yeah, we get Taro Cash. You just get yourself the bloody shoes, mate, and then get up, and then I don't know if you'd be able to convince. Marco would be great in that get up.
My body shape, thanks to COVID, just with terrible drinking and eating habits, I could go to Lowe's and probably just get a nice fitting suit.
I've actually
in the big and tall section.
I've actually lost weight because I couldn't get the KFC and McDonald's. So,
Oh, there we go.
and I'm not I wasn't eating or drinking at the Sun Bistro. So, and plus footy food was out because I'm not calling footy. So, but anyway, that's all starting to slowly come back. So, cheers for the chat today, bro. And yeah, till next time.
We'll be talking to you.
Woo.
See you, mate.
All right, so, and that's so next week we're hoping to have still got to confirm it. Trevor Osborne is going to be the next chat for the next episode of the Duane-o Podcast. Cheers for listening, everyone. We'll see you next week.